together with the YADLOVSKIY family, we went to Mexico 2 weeks earlier than the rest of them. I'm so blessed that I could be there with the YADLOVSKIY. We had a great time, and I can't be more thankful to God for this family that He sent me with and the entire opportunity to go in general. We were just ready to face whatever God was going to put in our way. And I think that's important in missions, is just not to have a plan, but just to trust God to see where He's going to lead us. Unlike what we thought, the first day we got there, we were faced with about, around 18 to 20 kids. And these kids, they were, in the beginning, they did not want to listen. Well, they were listening kind of half and half, but I just kind of noticed, like, as we were teaching the lessons, that they were moving around more, and it was kind of like just a lesson for them. But later on, as we progressed through the weeks, it was just amazing to see these kids change. And I personally really saw that. I saw these kids, they began to be more attentive to what we were speaking. We started speaking more towards them about like how stories from the Bible could relate to them. And I noticed that like in their eyes, that this was changing them, that they were listening to these words. And this personally really touched me because I felt like we were actually doing something there. The way we usually start a day is that we would get up early in the morning and read the Bible together with the family. And like in the beginning, these kids, they would just kind of come whenever the lesson started. But later on throughout the weeks, they started kind of showing up really early in the morning and leaving really late. And it was very nice because the entire village just became like a family. And I really enjoyed that personally. We got so close with these kids, we couldn't talk to them because they spoke a completely different language. But later on, we learned some words and we literally had conversations with these kids. And this was just amazing to me because we were completely different nations, completely different cultures, but God united us and we could talk to each other. They taught us so much, and I really enjoyed that. Anybody who has a desire to go, I'd really encourage you to go on missions. And of course, pray to God, search for Him, and He will give you answers.
Бог нам дав можливість поїхати в Мексику всією сім'єю. Цель нашої поїздки було дитяче служіння. Проводя з ними класи, ми їм розповідали про створення світу і приход нашого Господа Ісуса Христа і Його спасіння. Через дітей ми могли мати доступ до їхніх батьків. Коли з дітками проводиш час один на один, розказуєш йому про нашого Господа, коли проводиш час з ними, тоді вони більше відкриваються і їхнє серце більше розположено до чуття Слова Божого. Де я бачив руку Божу, це коли нема госпіталя, нема до кого обратитися, в нас є один Господь Христос. Коли Айзек заболів, ми тільки мали надію на Бога. Він пролежав 3 дня, ми молилися, просили Бога, щоб Бог йому поміг. І Господь вийшов на зустріч і восстановив його. І ми живемо в благополучній країні, в нас все є. І коли в нас є якісь проблеми, в нас є близькі, рідні, больниці. Так що я кожному желаю поїхати туди. І там ти остаєшся один на один з Богом. Там укріпляється віра, відкривається більш духовна сторона, тому що ти не маєш того, що ми тут маємо. Покамість Бог нам дає добрий час, дає нам благословіння і можливості. Сам Бог через пророка казав, ми шукаємо удовольствия в цьому світі, в наших віщах, але нам треба шукати удовольствия в Його труді, на служенні Богу. Оце наше удовольствие, оце наша радість і благословіння.
This was my first time going to Mexico, and experience of this trip was a blessing for me and my family. And I noticed that when you make yourself available for God, He will always find a way to use you, no matter what kind of tool you are. You know, God will always, He needs to use somebody, and He will use you when you become available. During this trip, we had some troubles or dead ends that we thought, you know, there's no way out. God has a way out. You just have to call out to Him and say, God, you know the way out. Lead us through it. And He always does. He's never late. He has His timing for everything. Also, seeing my kids be part of everything we did was a big blessing for me, because a while back, God has spoken through a prophecy saying that He does want to use my children for His glory. And I saw a lot of this when we were in Mexico, where my kids were playing guitar, they were singing, they were serving other children, they did the kids ministry. That brings happiness to my heart, and I glorify God for such a wonderful opportunity that He has given my family. My duty was to serve as kitchen staff, where, you know, the meals, they do bring people together. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, you know, that brought us all together where we sat and had a good time behind either a hot cup of tea or a good meal. It was a wonderful experience, and I do recommend everybody that has an opportunity, don't push it out. Try it out and see for yourself how good it feels to be a tool in God's hand and to serve others. Be blessed.
Ця поїздка якось по-своєму відрізнялася від попередніх поїздок. Було дуже добре, мали хорошу групу. Кожен якось один доповнював другого. Мали дуже ефективний, хоча не дуже довгий час там. За короткий час встановили вікна, двері в будинку молитви. Так само зробили solar system, провели електрику, повішали світильники і розетки. І дуже гарно попрацювали. Так як я більше був зайнятий з тим, щоб розповсюджувати аудіо Біблії, то мені дуже сподобалося іменно те, що ці брати, які перед тим отримали ці Біблії, це Біблія, яка має в собі старий і новий заповіт. Це Біблія, яка має в собі так само батарею, яка заряджається від сонця. І вони можуть слухати. І ці браття казали, що коли вони йдуть в другі села проповідувати, вони по дорозі можуть їх слухати. Один брат, Мігел з Рамигоречі, казав, що він цю Біблію вже прослухав за 2 місяці повністю. І це дуже для нього служить великим благословінням. То ми роздали 60 Біблій цього разу на кожну церкву, щоб вони там давали слухати людям, які приходять, і потім передавали іншим людям. Так само хотів сказати, що це є дуже благословенно їздити на місійні поїздки, заохотити молодь особливо, щоб посвятили свої молоді роки для того, щоб пізніше навіть було, що їм самим згадати в своєму житті, але так само і послужити для других людей, для спасіння, для того, щоб ще більше людей могло пізнати Спасителя. І в особистому житті побачити багато милостів, так як і цей раз ми бачили, наскільки Божа рука була над нами, коли ми проїжджали по цих горах. І коли вокруг нас крутилися чорні такі хмари з дощом, які мали лити на нас, але ми молилися, просили, Господи, затримай цю хмару, щоб ми могли виїхати з цього села. І так ставалося декілька разів, просто наскільки було видно, що Бог благословляв і Бог був над нами. Ми тільки виїжджали з гор, хоча і місцями застрягали в болоті. Треба було причіпляти до другої машини, витягувати. були такі моменти, але ми виїжджали з тих сел, і тоді починався сильний дощ. І це так само була Божа милість. І наступні роки, якщо дасть Бог, я би що хотів, так само така думка, більш ефективніше було б, можливо, якщо в нас буде велика група молоді, братів, сестер, ми могли б розділити на 3 команди. І в кожне село, де є зараз церква, залишити цю команду на довший час. Наскільки ми там будемо їхати, на 2 тижні чи наскільки, щоб там побути з тими людьми, більше подружитися, більше з дітками займатися, поспілкуватися. І вони тоді на протязі того часу багато більше відкриваються. І ми змогли би їм, я думаю, більше послужити, чим просто проїхати скоренько всі села і потім вертатись назад. Так що, якщо буде Божа воля, хай Бог благословить надальше і наступні поїздки.
Там для всіх є щось зробити. Знаєте, ми вікна ставили, двері ставили, електрику проводили, варили і прибирали. То для всіх є. І дітські ми робили. То захочу і всіх, будь ласка.
Where I saw God move the most is when we would give out food packages out to the families, and also when we gave out backpacks, little backpacks with little things in them for the little kids, and whenever we saw their smiles on their faces. Also, whenever it rained for a whole week in Mexico, it was amazing how God kept us safe throughout all those roads because they were super muddy and it was really hard to get through them.
In this amazing trip, I saw God show himself anywhere I looked, but one moment that really stood out to me was when 2 brothers, after years of hatred, reconciled right before me. I would love to encourage as many people as possible to go to Mexico because this is one place where we can drop our selfish lives and only think of serving others. For my next trip, I would love to stay in one village and spend a lot of time there to get closer to the people that I know.
First off, this trip was a great experience. I realized we take so much for granted living here in America. We get so comfortable thinking this is the normal way of life until we go to a place like RAMIGORECHI.
Why are we going through the garden?
We also noticed a difference with the children in the towns where our missionaries have spent more time previously. Besides knowing more about the Bible and who God is, they seemed happier around us and more talkative. In these 10 days, there was a lot God taught me personally, and I am so grateful I was able to go on this trip.
One time as we were sitting around the breakfast eating, I asked one of the native pastors about the rituals that the native people used to practice. And he told me that back in the day, before Christianity was introduced to them, they used to have this ritual where they would go out into the field, make a circle, in the middle of which was a cross, which represented their God. And then they would take corn soup and throw it up into the air in 4 different places, as well as a alcoholic corn drink in order to appease their God. Basically, they thought that they were feeding their God and that it wanted to be fed. I thought it was very interesting that these people, even though they did not understand the true God, they still were able to understand that they were sinful and that there was a God in heaven who was wrathful at them. And I was very glad that we were able to share with them about the true God and about the fact that no matter how many rituals they perform or no matter how much they do, they will never be able to get rid of that wrath of God, and that it is only through Jesus Christ that they are able to gain salvation. I really encourage people who have never been on missions is to go and serve somebody who is in need of you.